In this video, we'll cover what it is to play a striker, your only male martial artist that brings up Street Fighter vibes in Lost Ark. You're going to be dealing fast punches and high kicks to play with your enemies and throw them around in the air. The basic playstyle of the striker is preferably using your incredibly high mobility to duck in and out of your fights and easily attack a target from behind, as it's a class focused on back attacks. Whilst using basic skills, the striker generates a gauge that looks like chakra and is referred to as your elemental or esoteric meter. The meter consists of esoteric orbs that you'll unlock once an orb is filled up, and that's when the striker will unleash his burst DPS potential by consuming those orbs with some really hard hitting punches and kicks. So if you're an absolute melee enthusiast that's looking for a flashy, fast-paced brawler class with various combo potentials and high mobility that's pretty balanced out in all stages of the game, then look no further. When it comes to your advanced martial artist classes, the striker comes with good mobility and CC combos that deal more damage than other martial artists like the scrapper or the war dancer. Speaking of war dancer, it's often compared as the striker's female counterpart since they make use of the same esoteric meter. But war dancers provide more buffs to the team and are more mobile, while the striker is a little bit more of a selfish damage dealer. That being said though, the striker's abilities have higher casting times which make him slower than the war dancer, but you'll outpost insane burst windows aiming to build up your skill orbs with 2 to 3 abilities, then use one ability to blow them all up in your enemy's face. Comparing the striker to the glaivier or the soul fist though, he doesn't have as much range, but his combo potential definitely makes up for that. The striker is also a PvP beast, especially in isolated 1v1 clashes, making him super annoying to play against as his knockups and unescapable combos are a bit of a nightmare to face. As a striker, you're all about building up your esoteric meter by simply doing damage with normal skills and basic attacks. As soon as you've built up enough meter with your esoteric orbs, you can cast an esoteric skill which will then consume these orbs to deal your highest numbers. Keep in mind though that you not only want to make sure you hit your skill, but also be in the right position when you're casting, preferably behind your enemies for the extra back attack damage. In PvE, strikers have two pretty distinct playstyles and can focus more on AoE with their esoteric skills, which does give you a faster playstyle. You can also focus more on your death blow playstyle though, which needs you to position and time your skills better. In general, strikers are fast paced due to the high mobility, which is why you'll spend most of your time running around throwing lots of punches and kicks, filling up your meter whilst grouping up mobs before dealing some pretty huge burst damage in short windows. As a back attacker, you'll also want to use your mobility to get behind a single target like a boss before releasing all of your burst orb spender skills. In PvP though, this is the favourite playground for any striker, as his gap closing mobility will allow him to constantly harass the enemy team's damage dealers whilst non-stop chasing them. Your rich CC combos will also scare most enemies to make them immediately use their stand up once you beat them to the ground, and this is where you want to stick to them and follow up with a second combo to make sure they cannot react, so then you can ultimately strike them to death with one of your big bursting abilities. Let's move on to some core abilities. Esoteric skill Lightning Tiger Strike. This is a striker's highest DPS skill, which gathers energy that penetrates your enemy and knocks and kicks them into the air. It also has a weak point to deal destruction and decent stagger built into it. Make sure to always have the right timing or understand the boss's attack patterns to make sure you're reliably hitting this skill. Esoteric skill Tiger Emerges. This is a striker's second highest key DPS skill, which will also gather energy that will move you around forward by performing an upward attack 3 times in a row. Unlike Lightning Tiger Strike, this skill is an instant cast one, and it has higher stagger and paralysis immunity built into it. The coolest part though is the animation of the final fist, which is insanely aesthetically pleasing. Sweeping Kick is your highest damage non-esoteric skill that, as the name suggests, sweeps a heavy hitting kick forwards. Moonflash Kick is your main orb gaining ability and hence another staple skill all strikers use. A striker can't deal a decent amount of damage if he doesn't generate enough orbs to consume. Although this skill does move you forward, it's important to note that you'll generate more orbs the closer that you use it. Lightning Whisper is your main synergy skill that provides not only orb generation but will also provide additional crit rate for 6 seconds, which is why you want to make sure to use all your damage in this small buff period. You want to run this skill regardless of which type of engraving that you take. As with all classes, the striker has access to 2 awakening abilities. Nova Blast makes you dash forward before striking 4 times with explosive kicks and punches that deal huge amounts of damage. But you need to remember that you need to land that first strike, otherwise the following 3 strikes will be cancelled immediately. True Heavenly Awakening gathers powerful energy into your legs that draws a wide trajectory before kicking 2 times. Unlike Nova Blast though, this one hits only 2 times, but no attacks will be cancelled even if you miss the first one. Both of these awakening abilities are considered strong finishing moves, as they'll also make you immune to CC whilst you're casting them. In terms of play rate, most people use the True Heavenly Awakening though, as its animation is shortened and you don't have to worry about your awakening getting cancelled unlike Nova Blast. So every Lost Ark class has access to engravings that will focus your playstyle in one particular direction. For strikers, you will choose between Esoteric Flurry and Death Blow. Starting off with Esoteric Flurry. This engraving allows your striker to deal more consistent damage, as it will make you use only 1 orb when using one of your esoteric skills. That being said, you'll probably run 3 or 4 esoteric skills in your main build. Using 3 high DPS skills all at once will also increase your stagger damage to help you clear specific dungeons or raids. When using this engraving though, you want to focus on the crit stat first for enough damage and on the swiftness stat secondly to keep cooldowns low and have increased attack and movement speed. After that, you can also look to focus a little bit on specialization to help with your esoteric meter gain. But if you do decide to run crit and swiftness only, you need to make up for not investing in specialization by making sure to use the right runes on your skills to keep having decent orb generation. Deathblow makes your striker deal some pretty high burst numbers. It grants you additional orbs so you can build up more esoteric meter, and your esoteric skills will deal much more damage too. But casting one esoteric skill will consume all of your orbs at once. That being said, you want to run the 2 esoteric skills Lightning Tiger Strike and Tiger Emerges and replace others with esoteric meter gaining skills like Violent Tiger. The burst potential of this playstyle makes it ultimately better against solo targets like Guardian raids or bosses in general, as you'll release all of your damage in a shorter amount of time. When choosing this engraving, you want to focus on the specialization trait first since your damage relies on your esoteric skills solely, and it will boost your orb generation. After that, crit is your second stat to build upon. The downside to this though is you'll need to know the boss mechanics, because in case you miss your burst window upon activation, you'll not only lose a lot of damage, but you'll also need to then refill your esoteric meter again before dealing a decent amount of damage. Most players run the esoteric flurry build up until tier 3, and then switch to Deathblow as it's considered to become stronger with higher combat stats. Remember to head on over to Mobalytics for all of your Lost Ark needs.